Que creus que hi tenim aquí? Una ballena?
Una manada de ballenes. Pere, vine ajudant-nos, que hem pescat una ballena.
Ah, jovent, si jo tinguera la vostra edat...
Ja ho sabem ja que vas pescar una bota de vi i no pas peix.
Ahir vaig veure tant que vaig tancar la dona a l'eixida. I me'n vaig emportar la truja. What is it, Jenny?
The fishermen. We've been afraid they would. Afraid they wouldn't.
Get the car out, Jenny.
Stephen, darling, don't look. Please don't look. Go with him, Janet. Stephen! Stephen!
The measure of love is what one is willing to give up for it. Who said that? To understand one human soul is like trying to empty the sea with a cup. When I first met Hendrik van der Zee, it never occurred to me that he was not like other men. Even now, my reason rebels at what it is required to believe of him. If I could fit the events together, incident by incident. I've spent my life piecing together the fragments of old mysteries. Perhaps I can make a new one surrender its secret. It began one night in early spring. I'd stumbled on a curious manuscript written by hand in 17th century Dutch and purporting to be the confession of the Flying Dutchman. I was having some difficulty with the translation. It was not a night for work. The moon was at the full, high over the sea, erotic and disturbing. I could hear the voice of the gypsy singer coming up from the tavern of the Two Turtles. I knew I might find Pandora there, with Reggie Demarest, who was drinking himself to death. For Pandora, people said. And Stephen Cameron, who lived for two things, Pandora and the racing car with which he hoped to break the world speed record. I was as much a slave as either of them.
Hello, Geoffrey.
Geoffrey. Hello.
You heard the news, Geoffrey. The social register's appeared without my name in it.
Congratulations.
You owe that to me, Reggie.
And that's not all I owe to you. Celebrating an anniversary. Met Pandora for the first time a year ago tonight.
I suppose you made up some verses for the occasion?
Ephemeral doggerel, stillborn. She was singing at the Hanover Club in London. She's promised to sing the same song for me tonight.
I'm not very much good without a microphone. I'll say it for you, Jenny. Or with one. Come over to the piano, Reggie. This is strictly between us.
She never could sing. It was just publicity and personality.
So sorry.
It's really love that found its way here. Oh, how am I to know? Will it linger on and leave me there? At this strange happiness. it be that love has come to stay here?
You sang that as though you meant it.
I do.
But not for me.
No, Reggie, not for you.
For Stephen, perhaps?
No, not for Stephen.
For whom, then?
I don't know.
You haven't met him yet. Will you marry me?
No, Reggie.
I thought not.
Please don't drink any more tonight.
Not tonight, or any other night. I know death hath 10,000 several doors for men to make their exits. When they move on such strange geometrical hinges, you may open them both ways. Any way, so I were out of your whispering.
He passed out again.
He's dead.
Pandora,
I'll walk back to the hotel, Stephen.
you don't want me to come with you?
No. I'll be all right.
He's beyond doctors, but I'll fetch one. It'll look better.
Pandora, do you think what Reggie did was it because he found out about us?
What Reggie did had nothing to do with us, Stephen. Only with me.
Stephen!
Coming?
Pandora made a brief appearance at the inquest, but it was several days before she would see any of us. We imagined her moping in morbid solitude.
Come in and toast yourself a marshmallow.
Marshmallows? Where on earth do you get marshmallows in Esperanza?
Oh, I have an old admirer back in Indianapolis. He hopes they'll make me homesick.
Do they?
A little. I was a Girl Scout once in Indiana, toasting marshmallows around a campfire and singing Juanita in close harmony.
How can you forget Reggie so easily? Have you no feelings at all?
Yes, I have. I feel relieved.
Why didn't you stop him?
It was his life.
He loved you.
What is love?
You're old enough to know.
Oddly enough, I don't.
Everyone knew about you and Reggie when you left London together. Do you mean to
I'm
deny
not
that?
denying anything. I was sorry for Reggie and I was fond of him.
How many times do you think Pandora kept that miserable young man from suicide? Why do you make yourself out so bad?
I don't have to. I leave that to others. Reggie was always talking about suicide. I coaxed him out of it night after night. Finally, you get fed up with alcoholic self-pity and threats of self-destruction. I was bored with it. It's over now and I'm not sorry. Anyhow, life is not important.
Not when it's somebody else's life.
Can you truthfully say that it matters to you in the least whether Reggie Demarest is alive or dead? You're not honest. You're not concerned about Reggie, but about yourself.
What do you mean?
You're afraid that now Reggie's out of the way, I might turn my attentions to Stephen.
I wish you would.
Perhaps I will. Would you take me for a drive in the big car, Stephen?
What now?
Mm-hmm. Right now.
There's nothing I'd like better.
Take me home, Uncle Jeffrey.
Do, Jeffrey. Take your niece's beautiful and slightly blue nose home and leave me to my marshmallows.
I like you, my dear.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
But life is important. You'll discover that someday.
This car wasn't built to hold two people.
I don't mind Angus.
Think it over, miss. You never was intended to climb mountains.
Don't worry, Angus. You'll take the hills, all right.
Keep her in second, or you'll find yourself in the ocean. Remember, you've only got a handbrake.
Women.
It was wonderful, Stephen. There's a strange yacht in the bay.
It doesn't take much to set you dreaming. I suppose you imagine your destinies on board that boat along with Nelson or the Flying Dutchman.
Who is the Flying Dutchman, Stephen?
Haven't the biggest idea. Jeffrey could tell you. You know, there are lots of girls who think that a fellow who can build and drive a racing car is pretty romantic.
Janet, for instance. Why don't you marry Janet, Stephen? She's a wonderful girl and she adores you.
But I adore you. Is there any reason in the world why you shouldn't marry me now? Why don't you come down to earth, Pandora? Happiness lies in the simple things. I love you, Pandora. I lie awake at night wondering what I can do to make you believe how much I love you.
What would you do for me, Stephen? What perfectly incredible thing would you do for me?
I would do anything. Anything.
How long have you been building this car, Stephen?
2 years, why?
Is there anything in the world more precious to you than this car?
One thing.
If I were to ask you, Stephen, would you push your car off this cliff into the sea?
Yes?
Do it, Stephen. When do you want to marry me, Stephen?
Tomorrow,
What is today's date, Stephen?
March the 9th.
The 9th day of the 3rd month. It's a wonderful day, and I shall always remember it. I promise to marry you, Stephen, on the 3rd day of the 9th month. If you still want me, that is. Or do you hate me now?
I want you.
I'm afraid we have a long walk home, darling.
I was eavesdropping through my telescope when I could hardly believe my eyes. Have you two gone stark staring mad?
Stark staring gloriously mad. Stephen has destroyed his car for me, and I've agreed to marry him on September the 3rd. We're engaged. You may kiss me, Geoffrey.
You rich people might have a little more sense if you had to work for your living.
I work for my living, and so does Stephen. Harder than people who have to.
She didn't want a racing car as a rival. I can't say I blame her.
The measure of love is what one is willing to give up for it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Stephen gave up his car for me. It's a measure of his love. Who said it, Geoffrey? It sounds like a quotation.
Some Greek said it, I can't remember who. Move these stones. Climb in. On second thought, what you did tonight may have been mad, but it was also magnificent, Stephen. It has the stuff of legends in it. In the old days, they'd make up ballads about you.
Speaking of legends, Geoffrey, who is the Flying Dutchman?
Strange you're asking that. I've just stumbled on an obscure version of the story.
Stephen seems to think he might be in that ship in the bay.
I accused her of hoping he was, but I take it back now.
Not likely. The legend says the Flying Dutchman is allowed to land once in 7 years to look for the woman who can redeem him.
Redeem him from what?
His curse. He's doomed to wander the seas till Judgment Day as captain of a ghost ship. Unless he can find a woman who loves him enough to die for him.
Now that's a measure of love even greater than yours, Stephen. You gave your car, but she has to give up her life.
Well, I've got you. He's still looking.
Stephen, let's take the outboard motorboat and pay him a call. Welcome to Esperanza and all that sort of thing.
I've done enough for one night and serve you. Looking aboard no strange yacht uninvited. It might be very embarrassing.
If he's rich enough to own that schooner, he's fat and bald-headed. You won't like him at all. If you're interested in legends, I've got something to show you. It was a legend that brought me to Esperanza in the first place. A legendary treasure on the bottom of the sea. I found all these statues in deep water just off that point. Everyone has been in this seaport down through the ages. It's been one of the crossroads of the world for more than 20 centuries. Greeks, Romans, Moors, and even the mysterious Celts who dragged those stones up to the cliff where your car went over, Stephen. This is Phoenician. It antedates those statues by 1,000 years. Ancient peoples travel far greater distances than is generally supposed. We've always known the Phoenicians were on this coast, but this is a rare find because of the inscription. The text on this tablet corroborates a passage in the Bible from the Book of Kings, which has hitherto been regarded as pure legend. Never dismiss the legends, Pandora. I say, where is she?
Pandora! It's all this talk of the Flying Dutchman and those old legends. She'll swim out of that yacht and... drive me to the pier, will you? There are times I get so mad at Pandora I could...
there! Ahoy there on deck! Hello there! Hello? Sailor on watch. Where are you? Is there nobody there? Hello?
The dressing room is to your right. You'll find towels there. And there's a robe in the cupboard.
Didn't you hear me calling? Where's your crew? I suppose you gave them shore leave. You might at least have left a sailor on watch. As a matter of fact, I think the law requires it.
I'm Pandora Reynolds.
How do you do?
One good name deserves another.
My name is Hendrik van der Zee.
Oh, then you're Dutch. You know, that's quite a coincidence. But I could have posed for this painting. Speaking of coincidences.
What is coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences.
Do you mean to tell me that it isn't the most fantastic coincidence imaginable that you have painted the likeness of a woman you've never seen?
It's still more remarkable that I painted her as Pandora, darling of the gods. I gave her the precious box which she was forbidden to open.
I am Pandora Reynolds of Indianapolis and Points East. I'm not interested in mythology. What I'd like to know is how my face and my name got into this painting.
Allow me to make a few small changes from the living model.
You still haven't told me how you know my name.
To know the face and not the name, I'd hate to be guilty of so imperfect a coincidence.
I'm not impressed. I'm sure there must be a natural explanation for your painting.
I'm sure there is.
It's simple enough. You've seen me singing in a nightclub somewhere, in New York or in London.
That's possible.
Or perhaps you've cut my picture out of a magazine. If I'd look around, I'd probably find it.
Turn your head this way just a little. Thank you.
That would explain the name and the likeness and everything.
It would, wouldn't it?
You planned the whole thing because you thought it would intrigue me.
Has it intrigued you?
Not in the least.
And I've taken a great deal of trouble to no purpose. You may look at yourself now, if you like. I've done all I can with you.
It's not me as I am at all. But it's what I'd like to be. Why am I not like that?
Perhaps because you're unfulfilled. Perhaps you've not found what you want. Perhaps you do not even know what you want. Perhaps you're discontented. And discontent appeases itself by fury and destruction.
Fury and destruction, is that your opinion? Well, perhaps I can find something here to destroy.
I have no doubt you will.
Your painting of me, for example. Would you like me to destroy your painting?
If it had helped to quiet your soul.
How long have you worked at it?
Does it matter?
Is there any reason why I shouldn't remove my face from your painting if I wish to?
None at all.
Shall I do it then?
By all means.
Aren't you angry?
I was angry once, long ago. I can never be angry again.
You've made me feel ashamed. It's a new sensation I'm not sure I like.
You haven't hurt my painting, you've helped it. In a moment, I'll show you what I mean. No work of art is complete until the element of chance is entered into it. The unexpected and the surprising are indispensable. Pandora was the first woman, the Eve of Greek legend, whose curiosity cost us our earthly paradise. I was wrong to portray her as a particular woman, no matter how beautiful. Pandora should appear as woman in the abstract. Bride and mother, the original and generic egghead from which we can imagine the whole human race to have been hatched. By sheer chance, you've contributed the unexpected element which my painting needed. And now it really is Pandora.
The original egghead, and you call that an improvement? Maybe Pandora, but it's certainly not me.
As I know you better, perhaps I should be able to restore your likeness to the painting without losing the symbolism. Not that I'm so good an artist, but I have the advantage of an extraordinary model who may inspire me to paint in the face and form of Pandora Reynolds, the secret goddess whom all men in their hearts desire.
Pandora! Pandora! Pandora, are you all right?
Of course I'm all right. This is Hendrik Van der Zee, my friend Stephen Cameron and Jeffrey Fielding.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Jeffrey is an archaeologist, and Stephen holds a world's record for racing cars. He was going to try to better it, but he gave up that idea tonight.
I hope you'll remember I gave it up for a better idea.
He means that we're engaged to be married.
You were partly right, Stephen. Mr. Van der Zee is a Dutchman, but he's not the Flying Dutchman. You're not the Flying Dutchman, Mr. Van der Zee, are you? At any rate, he isn't flying away from here for some time. He's agreed to have dinner with us tomorrow evening. Haven't you?
I shall be delighted.
The Hotel Isabella at 8 o'clock. Good night.
Good night.
Pandora seemed to regret the sacrifice she'd required of Stephen and agreed to let him salvage his racing car. It was brought up from the sea, battered but intact, and Stephen was working day and night to put it into shape for his attempt at the record.
It's the rich what gets the pleasure. It's the poor what gets the blame.
It's the same the whole world over.
Isn't it a flippin' shame?
Ah! What have we got?
Ham.
Good.
Hooray! Thank you. Good woman.
Pandora's new friend, Hendrik Van der Zee, had moved into a cottage in the gardens of the Hotel Isabella and was accepted without question in the circle that revolved about Pandora. He was a man of vast culture, with a knowledge of antiquities exceeding my own. I often consulted him about a difficult coin or a doubtful inscription. Something in his manner as he listened to Pandora's playing arrested my attention. He seemed rapt, transported to another world. I sensed an almost desperate ecstasy in his enjoyment. I was moved without quite knowing why. A sense of doom took hold of me. I did not ask him about my coin. I know now how much they were in love, but I have the idea they never spoke of it. my apprehensions gradually subsided, until an incident occurred so astonishing that I could not have believed it if I had not witnessed it with my own eyes.
I'm glad you dropped in. I'm having some difficulty with a manuscript I found in the local archives. I think you can help me with it.
Manuscript in Spanish?
Dutch. Early 17th century, I should judge.
Dutch manuscript in Esperanza?
No, that's not surprising. The Netherlands belonged to Spain.
Of course.
It's surprising for another reason. It purports to be the story of the Flying Dutchman, written by the doomed man himself. Now, I can read Dutch fairly well, but I'm having some trouble with some of the archaic expressions, and since it's in your native language, I thought you might be able to clear them up for me. The story is an obvious invention, a literary hoax of the period. The death ship legend goes all the way back to the Egyptians. Of course, if it's too much trouble, I do hope I haven't offended you. You are Dutch, and you seem so interested in my antiquities. You're looking at me in the strangest way.
I'm sorry, forgive me. It's nothing at all. Of course I have an interest in your antiquities, a great interest, and I'll be delighted to translate the manuscript for you. The language will present no difficulties to me. None whatsoever. The Flying Dutchman. His own story told in the hope of divine grace and merciful absolution. Shun blasphemous rage, and pity him his punishment. It was her face. It was her face still, though now white and cold as marble. She would not smile at me anymore in the sweet way she had of smiling, but it was still her face. The face I had seen in my mind's eye, carried in my heart of hearts through the days, weeks, months of my long voyage. I had my own ship now, and was vain of two things, my captaincy and my beautiful young wife, whose face was as innocent as a flower and as transparent as a child's. I could have sworn upon that innocence as one swears by the Holy Mother of God. It was this face that I had before me when I withdrew from my ship's officers and their carousing. It was to this face that I had yearned in the endless hours of the night watch. It was to her that I'd returned at last, my hands and pockets full of earrings and necklaces and circlets for her delicate arms, souvenirs of strange lands to beguile and delight her. How I adored her pleasure in my gifts, and to have found her faithless. It was incredible, and yet I could not doubt it. My mind was a hive of swarming gadflies whose stings were my remorseless thoughts, visions of her unchastity, mad, shameful, bestial imaginings. There was no cure for this but the knife. With one bloody blow, I killed all that I loved on God's earth.
Halt! Johnson, open the door!
It was still her face. So pure. How could it be so pure? It was not a man, but a walking emptiness that they led away to dungeons and courtrooms. And when my judgment was pronounced and the magistrate asked me whether I had anything to say, I found words to speak so vain, so extravagant, so mad, such fateful words.
The evil is done and cannot be undone. This bloody death I still shall do, and do again 10,000 times before I hang tomorrow. Send me then no priest to shrive me. I beseech no mercy, nor plead any justice. Eternal penance be my comfort. Let mortal fools live in a wicked world. Faith is a lie, and God himself is chaos.
Silence!
Faith is a lie, and heaven a deception.
Silence, I say. Silence.
A man might have immortal life and wander for all the generations of man over all the oceans of the world. Let him sail to the edge of doomsday. He will find no woman faithful and fair. If this be folly, then upon me proved, let the divinity that I reject make what sport he will of my immortal soul.
I tremble for the soul that will depart your body tomorrow. For the God you have blasphemed will judge your words as I have judged your deed. You have taken a life, and yours is forfeit. Tomorrow you will die. But the part of you that does not die, the immortal part, what of that? He who knows our thoughts, will he not hear our words? I pity you, not my doom, but God's.
I awoke in the dead of night from a deep sleep. A sleep, it seemed, of unearthly oblivion. The door of my cell was open. My guards were sleeping as if they were under a spell. I thought some unknown friend, pitying my misfortune, had drugged them so that I might flee the death that the morning sun would bring me. My ship was still anchored in the bay. My loyal crew received me. Soundlessly to the safety of the open sea. In the last darkness before the dawn, while I was sleeping in my familiar cabin, a dream came to me. A voice spoke to me in words that passed like flames through my tortured ears to take possession of my burning brain. I knew without any doubt that what the voice told me was true, with an awful truth. My wife had not been faithless. What I thought unchastity had been kindness merely, the warmth and sweet friendship and joy with which her gentle soul sought to encompass all creatures. I had killed sweet innocence, and with it, my hopes of earth and heaven. I wanted to die. I wanted to plunge the knife into my own heart as I had in hers. But a power greater than my own held my arm. The voice spoke again. In my madness in the courtroom, I had pronounced my own doom. I would have immortal life and wander for all the generations of men over all the oceans of the world. It might be that I should sail till doomsday. I would long for death, but death would be denied me. Yet I might be redeemed. After 7 years, and ever again after 7 years, I might live as a mortal man among mortal men, For half a year I might seek the woman, faithful and fair, who could restore to me the grace of God and the gift of peace. But she must be willing to die for me. The words echoed in my mind. Willing to die? The answer came, so that I might know the meaning of love. The voice faded away. This was my dream. Was it a dream? I could hear the noise of the sea and the straining of the ship's timbers. It was a dream. A dreadful dream and nothing more. But if a man should have a dream, and in that dream should take a knife to destroy himself, and the knife were to fall from his hand, and if waking, he saw that knife where it had fallen, what then? But this was absurd. The knife had fallen to the floor in some other way, not in a dream. Or perhaps in the manner of sleepwalkers, I'd left my bed and taken the knife and let it fall. My imagination was overwrought with the events of the past days. I would rest, and the dream would be forgotten in the morning as vapors vanish in the rising sun. But in the morning, the memory of my dream was disturbingly vivid. There was no one to be seen. No watch on deck. No helmsman at the wheel. No one aloft in the yards.
Ahoy! Ahoy there!
No sailor to answer my call. It was very strange. Only a few hours ago I'd seen them. Could they have abandoned ship while I slept? But the longboat was secure. I had seen my crew the night before. Was it my crew I'd seen? Or demons sent to deceive me? This was not a dream. I was alone. Unspeakably alone. Was I alone? The helm was firm and the ship held to its course. I looked aloft with an unspoken command. For now we were carrying too much canvas. Unseen hands obeyed my thought. I was captain of a ghostly crew. Was it true, then? The doom that I had dreamed. The words of the vision rang in my mind like a funeral bell. Would I sail alone till doomsday? longing for death, with death denied me. Above the mainmast, I saw a white gull circling. Its wings were stained with blood. 7 years and 7 times 7 years I have sailed, my ship without anchor, my heart without hope. Mountains of ice that guard the southern pole crack before me with the noise of thunder. I sail through canyons of ice whose walls rise up and up into a measureless mist. Unharmed I sail through fields of ice where the frozen crags crash and mount each other, howling like souls in hellfire. Beyond the ice I sail into tropical calms, where the ship's timbers become trees again with roots in the bottom of the sea. The sun breeds maggots as if water were carrion, and vermin swarm upon us in sheets of hurried movement. I long for death, but death has been denied me. Once in a storm, the main topgallant, cleft by lightning, fell upon me. In that moment of dying, for in that moment I died, a great joy filled me. I was at last to be free of the burden of my doom. But life flowed back into my unwilling brain. After 7 years, and again after 7 years, I found harbor to see again with longing the lives of those who grow old and die, of those who suffer and die, of those who die. Morning and night I pray. Up by star and star, my futile prayers go into the outer frozen blackness. Down into the unfathomable deeps where black water covers the abyss of the sea. My vain words seek the ear of God. You who have the gift of life, the gift of love, pity the Flying Dutchman, his punishment, and pray that God's grace may grant him the best of all gifts, the gift of merciful death.
Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them that trespass against us. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. It's beyond nature, beyond reason. What does it mean? Why was I chosen to bring these words back to you?
Hello, Jeffrey.
It's not only the manuscript that's come back to me.
Jeffrey, are you there?
Pandora, come up, will you?
Is Hendrik with you?
Yes, we're waiting for you. You mean Pandora? Do you think that she?
I cannot tell. She must be willing to die.
What's wrong with you two philosophers standing here in the dark? Is your conversation so bright that you don't need other illumination? You're taking me to dinner, Hendrik. Stephen sent word he can't join us until later. I'll let Jeffrey tell me strange stories out of the past while you go and change.
When are you and Stephen getting married?
September the 3rd is the date we've set.
Then I shall miss the wedding. I sail on September the 3rd.
Couldn't you put it off?
I'm afraid not.
What's happened between you and Hendrik? He seems upset. It's not like him.
Nothing's happened. You're imagining things.
An interesting old manuscript. What language is it in?
Dutch, 17th century Dutch.
Can you read it?
Not fluently.
No one has a right to read Dutch. Unless, of course, you are Dutch. Like Hendrik.
Why do you wait, Pandora? Why don't you marry Stephen at once?
September's only a month away. Besides, Stephen's too busy with his car. A lot can happen between now and September the 3rd.
Esperanza was convulsed with joy. Its hero had returned. Juan Montalvo, the greatest matador of all Spain, who had been born in Esperanza, and whose gypsy mother still lived here. It was rumored that he had agreed to perform in the local arena.
Dale algo a los chicos.
Venga, se le quité a pues.
Vaya, hombre, déjame que te hablar. ¿Qué tal, Permíteme presente una botella de mi mejor vino. Ven, chico, siéntate. Siéntate, por favor.
And now I remembered that some years ago there had been talk of Montalvo and an American girl.
Juanito.
Señorita.
Senor Van de Zee, Juan Montalvo.
Senor?
I'm sure you know Jeffrey Feely.
Welcome home, senor.
Then you've not forgotten me.
When I go Ichilla to Valencia, to Sevilla, to San Sebastian, to Granada, it is no longer to kill the bulls, but to remember.
I made the whole circuit with Montalvo one season. But you mustn't remind me or you'll make me fall in love with you all over again. And that would be wicked because you see I'm engaged to be married.
It is not I, senor, but someone more fortunate.
He's not here tonight. He's busy with his racing car. His name is Stephen Cameron. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's going to try for a new world speed record before our wedding day. I'll take you to meet him if you like.
I do not like.
He's a brave man, Juanito. Just as you are.
What brings Montalvo to Esperanza?
He comes to visit his mother. Esperanza is proud to have given Spain its finest bullfighter after Belmonte.
After Belmonte?
In point of time, of course.
My mother is a gypsy, senor. A great woman. She will not come to Madrid, where she can live like a queen. She hates the corrida, so I come to see her. That is as it should be. She is Montalvo's mother. You will meet my mother, señorita?
Are you sure I deserve such an honor?
I am not sure. Vicente. Quiero que vayas a la plaza de toros y me sueltes un toro.
¿Ahora?
Ahora, inmediatamente.
Está usted loco, maestro.
No repliques y arréglalo como sea.
¿Pero cómo?
¿No está ahí la corrida de toros para mañana?
Sí.
Pues compra al mayoral. Anda, márchate. I am not sure, señorita, if you deserve to meet my mother, because you have forgotten what is a brave man. But Montalvo will show you.
Ole, Juanito. Ole.
Gíratelo.
Montalvo's mother had abandoned her gypsy tribe to marry Juan's father. She did not approve of her son's profession and was full of dark forebodings about his destiny. She did not like what she saw in the cards concerning her son and his foreign friends. But she refused to reveal what it was that she saw.
¿Qué dice esa carta? ¿Qué lees en ella? Responde, madre, te lo pido. ¿Qué negros destinos ves en ellas? Sí, ya supongo, ya sé. Demasiada obsesión por el que murió. Desprecio a la profesión de tu hijo.
She wanted Montalvo to return at once to Madrid, to have nothing more to do with these strangers who were destined to bring a horrible catastrophe upon him. But Juan's infatuation for Pandora had burst into flame again. He was not to be dissuaded.
¿Me contestas ahora?
No es necesario ser popular, basta ser hombre.
La profesión de torero es tan digna como la que tuvo mi padre.
Pero tú no eres como él.
¡Basta ya! ¡Basta de comparaciones! Yo no sé cómo era él, pero tú has convertido en Dios a quien solo era un pobre hombre.
No hables así. ¿Reniegues tu raza?
¡La maldita!
A profound and unconscious jealousy of his dead father had created a permanent and incurable disturbance in the violent soul of Juan Montalvo.
Perdóname, madre.
¿Cómo no he de perdonarte, hijo mío?
Montalvo had the idea, not to say the hope, that Stephen's great day might be his last. There was always the chance of a hair-raising spill and a fatal accident. If anything happened to Stephen, more than one life would be changed. The officials of the International Automobile Club had marked out the course and approved the arrangements. He was to have a 5-mile flying start before crossing the electric timing strip of the measured mile. 30 minutes were granted for repairs before the return run. The average time of the 2 runs would determine the official record. To break the record, he would have to average more than 214 miles an hour. Timing strip at 250 miles an hour and was gaining speed with every second. He had struck a soft spot in the sand. He was well ahead of the record, but on the return run, the wind would be against him. There was not time to repair the leaking radiator. He ought never to have attempted the return run. When he crossed the timing strip of the measured mile on the return run, we could hardly see him for the smoke and flame. He had averaged 247 miles an hour. It was a new record. The triumph called for a celebration, which took the form of a party in the garden of Stephen's Cabana at the Hotel Isabella. I could not shake off a sense of mingled excitement and foreboding.
Janet.
You'll listen to me whether you want to or not.
Now look here, Janet.
Why don't you
can't
give
talk to
Stephen
Pandora
up?
like that.
You don't love him. You've never loved him. It's never been anything but a game with you.
So what are you talking about? I
You
don't
haven't
want
an
to be
honest
given up.
emotion in your body. You're interested only in sensation, not with sentiment. When will you stop it? When will you leave him alone? He doesn't really love you. He's only infatuated. He's a fool. A sweet, blind, trusting fool. And you're no good for him. And one day he'll find it out.
Now shut up, Janet.
You're a fool. A blind fool. You're too trusting, too honest. You don't understand. You'll be unhappy with her. She's not for you. She's not honest. She's treacherous. She'll deceive you.
What's got into her anyway?
Be sweet, Stephen. Go to her now. She's had too much champagne.
You're a wonderful girl, Pandora. A very wonderful girl. Oh, forgive me, pardon.
The hero and host of the party, as is often the case, was hardly missed. The revelry burst its bounds and spread to the beach.
What did I do? My tears for you make everything hazy. Clouds in the skies are blue. How true were the friends who were near me, cheer me, believe me they knew. But you were the kind that would hurt me, desert me when I needed you. Yes, you. What did I do? What did I do to you?
What do you see out there? The past or the future? Or some fabulous land beyond the maps? I'm interested in the present tonight. The here and the now.
The sea of faith was once two at the full. The world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams has really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. But we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night.
I know that poem. It's an English poem.
Yes.
It's odd that a Dutchman should be able to quote an English poem. But I got over being surprised at you a long time ago.
It's a poem about the sea. I know a great deal about the sea.
You love the sea.
Loves the sea.
I've wanted to do that. But you've been so remote, so far off from me. As if there were oceans between us. There's something beyond my understanding. Something mystical in the feeling I have for you. I feel as if I'd loved you always, not only in this life, but in lives I've lived before and do not remember. It's as if everything that happened before I met you didn't happen to me at all, but to someone else. And in a way, that's true. I've changed so since I've known you. I'm not cruel and hateful as I used to be, hurting people because I was so unhappy myself. I know now where destructiveness comes from. It's a lack of love. It's as simple as that. Come and sit beside me. You look at me sometimes with such a strange questioning in your eyes. If it's a question of my love, you have the answer. No one else exists for me. No one ever will. You're so silent. But it isn't easy to find words for big emotions. Although I seem to have found them. I've bottled up my emotions for so long I had to speak or explode. You have no idea the things I've imagined myself saying to you. Jeffrey once said that the measure of love is what one is willing to give up for it. It was when Stephen destroyed his car for me. It was a wonderful gesture, but then he took it back. Stephen doesn't realize it, but when he recovered his car, I felt that he'd set me free.
And you... what would you give up?
I've asked myself that question.
Your life, for instance? Would you give up your life?
Yes, I would.
I'd die for you without the least hesitation. I know that sounds extravagant, but I've thought about it and I mean it. I'd give up my life for you. That's the measure of my love. And you, what would you give up?
My salvation.
But it's even more than life. But you said it in the strangest way. You suddenly put a barrier between us. I feel shut out. You've gone away from me somehow.
I'm afraid you've misunderstood me. I was wrong to respond, even for a moment, to this shocking confession. We've had a charming friendship, but I do not recall having encouraged you to suppose that it could be anything more. And now you've made even that impossible. This sort of thing disgusts me. You seem to have forgotten that you're engaged to marry Stephen Cameron. What makes you imagine that I'd be willing to betray him? The infection of your treachery? I'm immune to that sort of disease. You say you do not destroy things anymore, but you invite me to join you in destroying him. I find the suggestion detestable, and I despise you for making it. You'll be married on September the 3rd. It's the date also of my departure. I prefer not to see you again in the meantime. If we shouldn't...
Pandora confided in me, as people do for some reason. I recognized the magnitude of the Dutchman's sacrifice, but I was glad. I wanted to see Pandora safely married to Stephen.
Open the door, Maria. Answer that for me, will you, Stephen?
Hello? Oh. All right. It's the reception desk. Juan Montalvo's on his way over.
Montalvo?
Now, what do you suppose he wants?
Oh, I can't imagine. He's being awfully formal having himself announced like this.
I don't trust that acrobat.
Give him a drink, will you, Stephen?
Uh-huh. Ah, come in, won't you? Pandora will be out in a few minutes. Can I get you a drink or something while you're waiting?
Perhaps.
If that's in your way, just chuck it on the floor.
The senorita, she knows that I am here?
Oh, she won't be long. She's having a fitting for her wedding dress. We're getting married a week from today.
You think?
I'm afraid there's no doubt about it.
There is doubt.
What exactly are you driving at?
1 week. Who knows what will become in 1 week?
You're very tactful. I'm obliged.
Do not speak of it.
We're looking forward to your appearance in the arena. It's a few days off, isn't it?
I shall astonish everyone.
You think?
Juanito.
I wish to speak with you very private. Perhaps, senor, will have the goodness?
I'm sure it must be very important.
Oh. See you at dinner.
Goodbye, darling.
A bottle's a very good weapon, but swing it hard. It's a very thick skull. Senor.
Senor. You will be surprised, senorita. It is how you say extraordinary. In Madrid there will be excitement, very big excitement. There will be, you understand? Many Spanish ladies very unhappy.
But why will the ladies be unhappy? You're going back to them soon, aren't you?
But I do not go alone. I have the honor, senorita, to pay my addresses to you.
Your addresses?
You will be Senora Montalvo. You will come to Madrid with Juan Montalvo the Matador. You will be married in the cathedral. In the palace, the king and the queen receive you. No one has such honor. You will allow me?
But you just met Stephen Cameron. Don't you know that I'm to marry him next week?
You wish to marry him?
You don't imagine that I'm doing it against my will.
I do not believe.
I know you're a great man, Juanito. Believe me, I understand the honor you do me. I'm moved, I thank you. But it's not possible. It's simply not as your prophetic mother might put it in the cards. You haven't changed, Juanito. You still think you can solve all your problems by violence. How can you be so foolish? Have you forgotten what happened in Granada when you threw a knife at a man because you were jealous of me? Save your courage for the bulls. There are laws, after all, against murder. There are even laws, I guess, against tearing up other people's magazines.
Laws are not for Montalvo.
I'm afraid the police will disagree with you. And besides, it would do you no good to kill Stephen Cameron.
There is someone else? I have already the idea there is someone else.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wedding dresses. What are wedding dresses? When it is the moment, you will not go to the church. You will not marry this Stephen.
If you're so certain of that, then you have no need for violence.
I have need, but not for him. I wish to be sure. Now I am sure.
Of what are you sure?
The other one. He is for you. But I am sorry. You are not for him. Adios, señorita.
Montalvo!
It was the eve of Montalvo's appearance in the bull ring. Van der Zee was returning after midnight to his cabana at the Hotel Isabella.
Coup de grace, Matador. The stroke of pity. Forgive me, for I have sinned. Forgive me. If I could die. I pray God's mercy if I must live again. She is so young, so beautiful. Do not let her die to save me. This was the doom, I know. Forgive me her doom and let her forget me. Let her not love me with this love that is as deep as death. If I could die. What strange dream have you had to bring you here at this time of night?
A dreadful dream. Because of me, someone had come to kill you. And it was done.
That's odd. I came in quite late and found that someone had been here and killed my dog. The little terrier that you gave me.
But why should anyone?
Killers have strange reasons sometimes. Or none at all. I was just about to send over to the main building for someone to take him away. I'm sick about it. I love that little dog.
It's very strange, all this. It was not the dog. Could not be the dog.
He's in here if you want. But you don't want to see him.
Buena suerte.
Buena suerte. Buena suerte, Montalva.
Montalvo was upset. His mother had prophesied disaster. In order to protect him, she had brewed a powerful potion designed to make the drinker invulnerable for 24 hours.
Para la señorita.
Montalvo had swallowed a large mugful, and it had made him a little sick.
He observed with satisfaction the empty chair beside Pandora. He wondered if the body had been discovered. There would be plenty of noise about it soon enough. He was sure of that. But no one would connect him with it. No one except Pandora. Pandora's attention returned again and again to the place reserved for Van der Zee.
Brindo a Pandora la muerte de este toro. Quiero hacerle una faena tan grande como mi cariño y tan bonita como tu cara. Al saber que tus ojos me miran, quiero torear como nadie. Vaya por Pandora. Vaya por ustedes.
¡Está vivo! ¡Sí! ¡Es aquí! ¡Yo lo maté! ¡Y está vivo! ¡Dejadme! ¡Yo lo maté! ¡Sí! ¡Yo lo maté! ¡Dejadme! ¡Está vivo! ¡Está aquí! ¡Aquí! ¡Dejadme!
It is God's punishment.
But why?
I killed him. Last night. It was for you. And today I see him. I do not see him, you understand. But I think to see him. I am very surprised. And evil. My mother said how it would be. It is God's punishment. God is good. He gives me time to make confession. The priest thinks I am. But it is well. I have made confession. I am clean. It is too bad. I am sorry. You will not be Senora Montalvo.
But it was the dog you killed.
The dog, yes. The dog also. He makes very much noise. It is necessary. Adiós, querida.
Adiós.
Jenny, I'll be down in a minute.
Is Jeffrey there?
Yes, he's putting on his white tie for Stephen's bachelor dinner.
Could I see him for a moment?
Yes, of course. Come up.
Pandora's on her way up. She wants to talk to you.
Everything under control?
Perfectly.
Good girl. I'll be with you in a moment, Pandora, in all my splendor.
I'll go on with Jenny to our hen party, shall I? Jeffrey can drop you off when you've had your talk.
Are you sure you don't mind?
Not a bit. I've been hateful to you, Pandora. Please forgive me. There's nothing I want so much as to be your friend and Stephen's.
Janet.
Goodbye, Uncle Jeffrey. When you get to Sweet Adeline, stick to the melody. Let the others do the harmonizing.
It's a long time since I worn this. I hope it'll hold together. Anything wrong, apart from the usual bride's nervousness?
It's Hendrik, Jeffrey.
Hendrik?
What do you know about him? Who is he really?
You know as much about him as I do.
You're not hiding anything from me.
Of course not.
I've had the feeling for a long time that you were hiding something. Ever since that day you were reading that old manuscript together.
I remember that evening, but it wasn't anything. You're exciting yourself without the least reason.
There's so many things I can't explain. I keep going over them in my mind, over and over endlessly.
That's one way of going out of your mind.
The first night when I swam out to his yacht, there wasn't any crew on board. I thought perhaps he'd given them shore leave.
What's strange about that?
There wasn't even a watch on deck. And I've never seen any of his men around the village, have you?
If I did see them, I wouldn't know them. They're strangers to me, after all. I could see no one except the Dutchman. The ship seemed to be making itself ready for sailing. I imagined what his thoughts must be. His resolution had not wavered. She was safe. She would never see him again.
And there's something else I've never told anyone, because no one would believe it. I'm not quite sure I believe it myself.
What's that?
He was killed, and he came back to life.
What on earth?
Montalvo killed him the night before the bullfight. Stabbed him to death in his room, the hotel.
Did Montalvo tell you that?
When he was dying.
He must have been delirious.
He didn't believe I'd ever marry Stephen. He was jealous of Hendrik. He felt that if Hendrik was out of the way, I'd marry him.
He was dying. When people are out of their head, they can't tell dreams from realities.
He all but told me beforehand he was going to do it. I tried not to take it seriously. Then one night I woke up absolutely certain he'd killed Hendrik.
You were frightened. You had a nightmare.
I went there. His room was a shambles. He said it was only the dog that had been killed, the terrier I gave him.
Obviously it was the dog, since Hendrik's still alive.
When Montalvo saw him at the bullfight the next day, he was so stunned he couldn't move. That's how he was killed.
He was raving if he said that.
What are you keeping from me, Jeffrey? Help me, Jeffrey. Please help me. I'll die if I don't see him again.
You'll live. Perhaps he wouldn't mind now. I think he'd like you to know how much he loved you.
Love?
You can decide that for yourself. It's a translation I made of that old Dutch manuscript. You can read it now. It's his story. Yours too, in a way. You'll want to be alone, I think. I'll make your excuses to the women.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
I could see the Dutchman's ship in the harbor. His sails hung loose. He was becalmed. I had a sudden sense of fatality. My fears seemed absurd, fantastic.
Hello.
The dressing room, you'll remember, is on your right. You'll find a robe in the cupboard.
You seem to have been expecting me.
Perhaps I have been. Listen to this. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on. Nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line. Nor all your tears wash out a word of it.
If you knew it had to end like this, why did you try to run away from me?
It's Jeffrey's book, but I can't think how to return it to him. How did you learn about me? Did Jeffrey tell you?
Only because he saw your sails and thought that you'd be far away.
I would have been, but the wind failed. I could command the sails, but not the wind. I thought then that I might see you again.
And I was so afraid you wouldn't. You've restored the painting.
From the original this time, I must have made 100 sketches of you.
It's beautiful.
It's like you, I think. Do you know who you are?
Is this the woman of the story? It's very strange.
Yes.
So that's how my face got into your painting. Then when I came here for the first time, we weren't strangers.
We were man and wife. Separated for centuries and meeting again. The moment I saw you, I knew it. You'd come back to me.
I think I knew it too. In my heart, I knew it.
I saw my destiny working itself out. My punishment ending if
I loved you enough to give my life.
Yes. But then I found I loved you too much to take it.
So you tried to make me hate you. And I almost did.
Tonight you've come to me knowing you'll die for it.
Yes.
And are you happy in spite of that?
I'm very happy.
You're not afraid to die?
I'm not afraid.
You told me once you'd like to hear me say it. I wanted to say it since the moment I saw you. I love you. You said you were not afraid.
I'm so happy I can't help wanting it to go on. If we could have a year, a month, a week even.
Pandora.
Yes.
How long do you think it's been since you came in here?
I don't know, not very long. It seems timeless.
Yes. Timeless. As if we were enchanted.
Yes.
All my centuries of solitude, when my despair was so great I prayed to die. It's as if they'd never been.
My love.
In a moment, you've erased the memory of so many years, so many cruel years. This joy is so deep, I've almost forgotten what went before.
Yes, it's true. I can hardly think back even to yesterday.
Because yesterday and all that went before was imperfect, unfulfilled, unreal. But our love is real, has no sense of time.
Darling, I think I understand what you're trying to tell me. I have no need to ask for a week, a month, a year.
No need.
It's as if we were under a spell, outside of time, unending.
Unending.
My love.
dangerous summer storms common to this coast. For revealing the truth to her. She hoped that Stephen would remember her without bitterness. Taken for granted that the vessel had foundered. A shocking accident, everyone said. And on the eve of her wedding, poor Stephen. No one imagined that anything strange or mysterious was involved. No one certainly finds anything to question in this book of mine, which the Dutchman borrowed, and which now has been returned. And yet, I wonder, does this book come to me from the other side of time with a message, not of death, but of life? Hail and farewell, Dutchman. May the consummation of your love endure as long as the punishment that made you worthy of it. If I say that I have two samples of handwriting, the same handwriting 3 centuries apart, everyone will think poor Geoffrey's lost his wits poring over old legends. Because we live in a time that has no faith in legends. We live in a time that has no faith.
The moving finger writes, and having writ, moves on.
There's the last fragment. It's finished.